Good afternoon, everyone. I am Monica from the University of ITMO, Department of Food Biotechnological Products from Raw Plant Material. Today we will discuss about so important topic is the optimization of the storage conditions of the industrial wheat bread waste for their recycling. So in the beginning we need to discuss about the benefits of the wheat bread waste which we can get or we can have. Nowadays, the industrial wheat bread waste is increasing, and this increasing comes from the bread which not sold in the retailer or the substandard industrial bread which growing every day. But actually, we know that this wheat bread very high rich in nutrients as proteins, fat, minerals, vitamins, carbohydrates, and on the head of these carbohydrates is the starch, which can reach to 80% from the total carbohydrates amount. So for that, nowadays, a lot of industries or people try to think how they can benefit from these woods by their recycling and getting secondary bioproducts. From these secondary bioproducts, we can say the bioethanol and glucose syrup, highly concentrated, and also we can get some media for the growth or other bacteria or yeast which can produce other products as inhibitors or lactic acids or others. But the question now optimize or find the optimum storage condition for this bread waste and which can extend or preserve their shelf life for to extend time with preserving its quality and character for their recycling. And of course this question because we know that the bread shelf life is too short and it's highly sensitive for spoilage and stalling. Begin just to store the bread with two different storage condition in two storage condition difference. First is to expose it for the exchangeable current air, and the second wrap it in plastic packet, and this packet must be very well closed. And then we will store them for 8 days, and during these 8 days they are present in room temperature, and the humidity of this place is low, around 78%, and then we will take some samples to evaluate the quality of the bread each 2 days, and we will measure the bread moisture content, the bread granulometric properties, the visual microbial growth on the surface. And these properties, they are so important because they can affect the shelf life of the bread, as well they can affect the quality of the product which will be get from the recycled bread. About the bread moisture content. We found that the bread wrapped in the packet show that in the first 2 days a little decrease in the bread moisture content, and then following by increasing gradually. And this because that the moisture that it will lost, it will stay inside the packet and gradually will be absorbed again with the bread, for that its moisture content increased again. But in contrast with the bread exposed to the air, we find in the first 2 days a sudden decrease in the moisture content, followed by decreasing gradually, which reached till 10 or 8% with the 6th and 8th day of the storage. And this moisture content of the bread is so critical because it will affect on the two other parameters of the bread. granulometric properties of the bread, which mean the bread particle size. And we will pay attention especially with the fine bread particles, which their size is less than 1 millimeter. And this is because when we get more yield of this fine bread particle, we can get more better recycling of the bread, as they can increase the rate of the enzymes which will used during the recycling. As well, they can increase the concentration of the dry matter in these products, I mean the bioproduct which we need to get. So it's very important properties. So during the bread wrapped in the packet, we see that in the first 2 days we find the decreasing in this percent of the fine bread particle, and then gradual increasing. And at the end of the 8th day, it will reach around 54%, which equal in the beginning. But in the bread exposed to the air, we can find in the 2 days sudden or big increasing in this amount, which is 70%, and then gradual increasing till it will reach around 98% in the 6th and 8th day of the storage. And this very important point or result we get it because this increasing is so important for us. And then the visual microbial growth. Here in the bread wrapped in the plastic packet, in the 8th day we can see a lot and many visual microbial growth, but in contrast with the bread exposed to the air, we cannot see any visual microbial growth. And of course this is highly affected by the moisture content of the bread, as in the exposed bread to the air or the current air, its moisture content decreased a lot, and this inhibit any microbial growth. We recommend to store the bread was exposed to exchangeable air current at room temperature in low humidity. And with the 6th or the 8th day of the storage, we can get the best result by the low temperature, by the low moisture content of the bread, and with a very high fine particle size, which increased, and as well for its microbial growth, which will not appear. And for that, we can say that we can get directly this result by just drying the wheat bread was in hot air oven for just little hours till it contain moisture content around 8 or 10%. And of course in this case we can preserve or store the bread for more longer time without any fearing from the microbial growth. And of course it's fine bread particle, it will be very high amount we can get. As conclusion for that, we say that really we have a very important point that the wheat bread was produced from the industry. They are increasing, and this bread is very high in its nutrient. For that, we can get many benefits from this bread by their recycling. But the important point, how we can store them for more longer time with preserving their quality and their character for their recycling and getting the best secondary bioproduct. And we found that the best way to expose this bread to the exchangeable air current or direct their drying till decreasing its moisture content. Thanks for your attention.